Right, so we're going to have a look at some of the software. There are bits of 10.1 that aren't on Titan, for example, or I can't actually show you on here. So I'll explain it to you. Version 10.1, really good thing about it is that it's fixed, well, I say fixed some of it, it's fixed a lot of bugs. A lot of the bugs from version 10 are now fine and working, which is brilliant. So anything that you may have found from the previous version that wasn't quite right, I can guarantee that that's all been fixed. There's also some new features, which is quite nice because for 10.1, it wasn't expected there'd be quite a lot of new features. So I want to show some of them to you now. There's one of them that's called Scene Master. I'll show you that at the end. But the first one I want to show you is to do with shapes on playbacks. Now, actually, if I click the programmer, we're one of the only manufacturers that have done this, and which is quite nice because it makes it slightly unique from anybody else in this sense. Let me just find my cue that has a shape. I've got a dimmer shape somewhere. Is it that weird one? I'm just going to locate them. Okay. So what I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to update one of my groups. So I'm going to update my mid-truss group so it only has the mid-truss. Okay. What we're going to do is create a very basic shape with this. So I'm going to use the mid-truss group. Press locate, though it should only just be those ones. Let me just re-record that. Place, there we go. So I've recorded, actually we use this one out. I've recorded a shape onto a playback. It's a basic dimmer shape using the shape generator just here. And you can see, it's not very fast, but we have a shape that's going on. Now, let's say you pre-programmed your whole show and you've got a lot of shape playbacks and you turn up to the venue and they say, oh, we've actually got a few extra fixtures you can add to your programming. What you'd usually have to do is you'd have to update each individual playback. So if you had a dimmer shape like this one and you turn up to the venue and they say, oh, tell you what, we've actually got some extra fixtures, these ones here. Rather than having to replicate that whole shape but on different line of truss with the same fixtures, you can just update the group that you used to record that shape. So the group that I used to record this shape playback was the mid-truss. So what I'm going to do is say, right, I've got these fixtures, which are these ones, that I'm going to add to it. If I press record, tap the rear, oh, not that one, the mid-truss group, and merge those fixtures into the group and press clear, what will happen now is that any playback that used the mid-truss group for that shape has been updated and it now relates back to the group. So any shapes you create on a playback will now always refer back to the group. It's not just on the playback. So what I mean by this is, you notice, there we go, if you have a look, I fired my dimmer shape and we've actually got both those fixtures. We've got the rear truss, which were the new ones, and the mid-truss. Now, they won't always show like this. So sometimes it looks like that they've been added to the playback. So it's just important to remember that these fixtures here that I added to the group haven't then been added to the playback. And I'll give you an example as to why. Let's do a different shape with the mid-truss. I want to update that group again. So press record, replace it. So we've now got this group back to normal. Here's my mid-truss group. If I go to the shape generator and just do a basic pan and tilt like that and put a spread on it here. I'm going to press record. I'm going to put this onto a playback. So now we have that shape onto a playback. I'm going to do exactly the same as I did when I updated that group. So I have these new fixtures. I'm going to press record and merge them into the mid-truss group. Press clear. Press locate. There they are. Now, if I fire the playback that I just recorded, you can see that unlike the dimmer shape that I did, it hasn't added those fixtures to playback, because that's not how it works. What you have to do is then grab the mid-truss group that you just updated, press locate, and there you go. It will just do the same movement. So your playbacks, and this only works for shapes, it won't do it for any other attribute. The playbacks will now look at the shape that you have recorded and refer it back to the group that you used to record it with. This makes your programming a lot easier, especially when it comes to having to patch some extra fixtures and merge them into your shapes. It's a very quick way to do this. So this is what we call linking shapes to your playbacks. Okay, if I press clear, and let's bring that playback down. So that's just one of the new features for 10.1. Now another one that we have, it sounds really silly, but to be fair, I do this quite a lot, is if you're using, say, any Titan 1, Titan Mobile, Titan Simulator on your computer, and you accidentally do this, you go to the cross button, which I've done a lot, close it, what would have happened before is it would have closed, but now you don't have to worry. Yay, you finally have this little message box that goes, are you sure you want to shut down the console? Most of the time, with me, it's no, so you can press cancel, and you're fine. So you have that. That's only for the PC suite. It's not with anything else, but it's a massive relief. So you don't have to worry about accidentally pressing that and your whole show file closing. So this is new to 10.1 as well. Another feature that's new, let me see which one I'll have a look at, is we'll look at actually some of, let's press exit, we'll look at some of the BPM and the effect speeds. And I've made one here actually for you. For example, I've got this chase, there we go, it's quite fast but that's fine, and I have this chase listening to this BPM master. You may or may not have realised already, but the BPM master here looks a bit different actually, legend-wise, to what we're actually used to before, and that's because BPM masters now show you the multiplier or divider that you've put on there. To change this, we could go to playback options, select the BPM master, and if you look at your soft keys on the right hand side, you have options. You can scale these options. You can go to your multiplier scale, and if you want to, you have a look at soft key E. I can tap where it says multiplier on fader, tap it, and then it's got BPM on fader. And then you'll notice if you look at the legend here, I keep tapping between the two, you can have the view slightly different. You've also got the option to keep your multiplier on your tap, so your blue button will be your tap tempo button. You can have it actually so that when you select or when you tap that blue tap tempo button, it resets once you do that. Or you can have it so that your multiplier, which is here, will stay. I press exit to escape. Now if I fire this, it's there. Go very, very fast and bring it back down to 0. There's another option that's called Bpm Edge Sink. This is pretty cool actually. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have a slightly more control of this chase. Now at the moment, oh gosh, that's a bit fast. We've got a chase with the source fours. Let's say that you have, I don't know, 2 or 3 different chases. You want them to all start at the same time. It's a little bit difficult to have all of them fired and start at the exact same position you want them to. Just the same as if you had, say, some sound or you had some music from a DJ that's coming to you. You know what the BPM is, but you haven't got your chase starting exactly where you wanted it. You can change this now. So at the moment, we've got 158 BPM. Let's say that we have to have our chase at about 100 just because of the music. Really good way to do this is if you now go to connect queue, or on here it's called the queue button, connect queue, select the BPM master, you'll notice that you can now move the BPM master onto your wheels. So if you wanted to change the speed to exactly 100, select where it says speed, I want to tap it and change that value. I want to manually input this. So if I type 100, press enter, that has now gone to 100, so much more accurate, which is brilliant. There's something called Edge Sink as well. Now, Bpm Edge Sink, if you have a look at my cursor, just focus on this bit for a little second. If I move this wheel slightly, and I'm holding it now to the left, and then let go, it goes to 0. I do it again, it goes to 0. It's very quick. Now, what it would do is it will move your starting position of your chase. So let's say that you've got a tempo that's of about 100 BPM. And I'll tell you what, I know it sounds a bit annoying, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to find this, which I had prepared, metronome that I found online. This metronome, it's going to sound frustrating, but if you just try and listen to it and look at this chase, you'll understand why. It's at 100 BPM. I'm going to put it on, and I want you to look at my chase and see if you think it's in time. If it looks like that the lights are coming on at exactly the beat. So actually, it's not too bad, but what you can do is you can move it so it's slightly pushed and moves that forward or moves the chase slightly back. What I'm going to do is use the Edge Sink for this. So I'm going to move this, and I want you to have a look and see how the metronome is in comparison to the visualizer. Now you notice it's slightly not quite in time. That's not too bad. If I move it back, move it forward, sorry. There we go. And they're very slight note. It's very slight noticing, but you can see that it's not quite on the time. I'll turn that off for you now, so you don't have to listen to it. Oh, yeah, there we go. If you had about 2 different chases or 3 different chases going on at the same time, you can do exactly the same. Say you've got 2 chases that are both on this BPM. You have them, sorry, BPM master. If you have them both fired on this, you'll be able to get them to sync as well. This Edge Sink is fantastic, so it allows you to have more control of how your chases run together as well as with the BPM and the music. Now, I'm going to take this off the wheels and make sure that I've got control back on this fader. So to do that, I'm just going to press the Connect Q button twice, and it just lets us control it from here again. So that's one of the new features. It's called Bpm Edge Sink. The next one is called Bpm Beat Divider, and if I'll bring this down, I'll show you what it looks like in a couple of the playback view windows. With my shape, let's do it a bit. Ooh, DMX fit. With this shape, I'm going to open the playback view window. There we go. And we can see that the effect, there's a new column called effect speed. So at the moment, it's on a divider of 3, so it's actually quite slow. If I select this effect speed, what it would do is whatever speed, BPM-wise, I recorded for this dimmer shape, it will either divide it or times it by a particular number. So at the moment, let's say I recorded this originally at 60 BPM, and I've got my effect speed on a divider of 3. It will divide that 60 BPM by 3, and you'll notice it's really slow. I'm selecting it, and on the soft keys, I've got some options which are pre-done for me. So I could say, okay, well, let's times it by 2. Let's make it faster. So we're going to multiply it, the original BPM by 2. There we go, that's a lot faster. If I select it again, I can say let's divide it by 4. And it's going to be a lot slower. Now you can input your own numbers. Where it has effect speed, I'm going to change the number to say 6. And if you have a look here, where it's got the divider, I'm going to tap where it says multiply or divide, and it will put it on multiplier. Tap it, it will put it as a divider, and you can choose between the 2. For now, I'm going to put it back on ×1 because that's very fast. So you have this with shapes, playbacks. If I press the cross button and go to chase, you also have it with your chase, which can be quite fun to use. Your chase, you'll have the effect speed column. You'll notice that you can change this effect speed for every single cue. So let's put this, let's fire the chase, and let's put the BPM around there. If I change my effect speed for Q1 to, say, ×4, we can see that the effect there will be multiplied by 4. And I can select it and put it on multiplier of 1. So you can change this for your shapes. It will include any shape. So we just did a shape generator playback. If you've got something like a keyframe shape, which I'll show you next actually, or a chase, for example, it will work with that as well. Okay, so we've had a look at Bpm Edge Sink. We've also looked at this, which is the beat divider, so the effect speed that you can change. What I am now going to show you is a keyframe shape effect editor layout window. Now, let me just very quickly, let's do it with beams, create a basic position keyframe shape. So we'll go to keyframe shape, create. We'll move these just in front of the audience. Oops. That will do. Add that as a frame and position it back there. So finish recording frames. Here is the effect editor window. These options are now new down here to version 10.1. You can actually change the speed and how it behaves in your keyframe shape. So at the moment, we have a default speed of 30 BPM. I am actually going to change this spread to 10. We can see that it's changed the whole of our look there, which is cool. We've got something here called beats per cycle. So you can change the way that your keyframe speed behaves by having a look at how the beats per cycle option works, and it does it in conjunction with your speed. So we've got 30 BPM. For example, between this point and this point is one whole cycle. So if I have a look at this custom value and I put in my own number, such as, let's do 5, press enter, you may notice that on the left-hand side, the shape has gone very, very slow because it's trying to fit in the 5 beats per cycle. So this is one cycle, which will affect your speed. If I put it on a lower number of, say, 2, you'll notice it's not that much, but it's a little bit faster. And the best way to kind of think of it is if you have a look at the speed and think, right, it's 30 BPM, I'm going to have to divide that by 2 so I can fit that many beats per one cycle. If you have it on a higher number, it then has to struggle to do that in that many beats per cycle. So it has to fit more into this cycle. And that's why it ends up a bit slower. If we go to this option here that says spread, I've got a spread of 10, and that is super slow. You can also adjust it so it does it to the amount of keyframes you have as well. And I don't really have that many, so it's not too slow. And you can also, again, change your speed here. There's another option which is quite cool for keyframe shapes. You'll notice there's something here called reversed. This is new, so if I tap it, have a look, it's reversed the whole of my keyframe shape. So if you do a layer that's got a lot of keyframes with position, you can have it so it just reverses it backwards, which is quite cool. Same with any other layers you have, such as colour, intensity, and so on. Okay, so you can control the speed of your keyframe shape, and you could do it in this option, this menu as well. So this gives you loads more flexibility in creating your own customized shapes within the keyframe shape menu. Oh, right, let's press. First, I want to clear the programmer. There's another option on 10.1, and it allows you to have playbacks start up when your console is switched on. So in particular, if you wanted to have a playback always fired once your console turns on, you can do. You go to playback options, select your playback, go to Software playback, and there we go. I did it already, but it's run on startup. You can select it, and that's enabled. And what it would do is if I was to close the software and then reopen the show file and load it, once the show file is loaded, this playback, the blue look, will load. And this is really useful because you'd be running late somewhere and you've got an in-house rig and you just need somebody to turn on the console, so you've got some playbacks running that are ready. You can do that. So it allows you to do that now in 10.1. A tiny little thing that's quite good is if you've got fixtures such as these ones, this is just the Nexus fixtures. They've got more than 4 cells. You can, if you go to the attribute editor, see that they now have kind of a real world cell layout for them. So the layout of your cells is different and it's slightly more realistic to how it would look for that fixture. So we've got 4x4, 4x4. So it's a little bit easier to see and to work with as well. That's a tiny little feature that's new to version 10.1 as well. One thing, and I can't show on here, but it's quite good. If any of you tend to use Capture, the internal visualizer, and to do a lot of multi-user with your consoles, you've now got the option to have your master and your slave console both using the internal Capture visualizer. So when you're connected, you'll be able to both see and use the internal Capture visualizer, which is brilliant. Okay, one more thing that I'll show you before we go to the Scene Master, which is one of the bigger features for 10.1, is you can now release by priority. So for example, if I've got this playback here, we'll go to playback options, new look, where is it, playback, have this priority on normal, and I've got another playback that I particularly like, such as, let's try and find one, this one, pixel map one, and the priority of this one is very high. What I can do is say, well, okay, I'm doing a show and I'll have this one running most of it. I don't want to accidentally release my playbacks and release this one by mistake. So we have these both running. You can see we've got the Avolites pixel mapper in the background and we've got this look. If I go to release now, you'll notice soft key A, it says release all playbacks by priority. So you can now release by priority. You have to choose the priority though. So if I wanted to keep the one that's at a very high priority but get rid of anything below, always make sure that you select the option below. So I could say, right, let's release everything that's on normal, and it would release anything that's from normal backwards. If I said on programmer, it would release playbacks that are from a programmer priority backwards. But I've only got normal, so we'll go, okay, release all playbacks priority that are at a normal level. And there you go, you'll notice that my Avolites one that's at quite a high priority still stays, it's still showing. So you've got the option now to release by priority. Okay, let me just bring these playbacks down. A couple of other things that we have that I can't show you on here, but I thought I'd mention, is you've got the option to use a TMP as a standalone console, which is brilliant. So what this means is you don't really, if you've got an in-house rig, you can program your show, you can load it up into one of our TMPs, and you can run that show just on a TMP because it will run as a standalone console, so to speak. So you can then do that. Okay, so the other one that I want to show you before we go on to the Scene Master is there's something called a timed flash on cue lists and chases. So I've got a chase here and I'll show you with this one. If I can put the BPM on, there we go. This all depends on what your key profiles are. So you may want to have a flash button for a chase for a cue list where you hold it and it then over a period of say 3 seconds fades into that. You can do that now. So the best way to do it is you first need to change this button to be something called a timed flash. So we're going to go to the key profiles for this. We're going to go to playback view, options, playback, where's key profile? There it is. Oh, I've done it already. That's fine, I'll show you again. So it's key profile, I'll put it as timed flash. We'll change it. So we're going to change the key profile. And go to add new. Now by default you would have this as a tap tempo. for your BPM. I'm now going to name this one Time Flash V10.1. Press OK, and I'm going to assign the blue button to be a timed flash, soft key C. So this button has now been assigned to act as a timed flash. Exit out of it, and then what you have to do is you have to then assign it to work as a timed flash. So if we go back to playback options, select this chase, go to playback, and if I go to next, there it is, it says flash fade in 3 seconds. You can also access it here as well in your playback view there. So if I change that to say 4 seconds, for example, let's actually type in here. There we go. Press enter, up in my keyboard, and then exit out of that. What we can do is bring everything down, and you notice when I now hold, it will fade that chase in over 4 seconds. Do it again, and it will do exactly the same for your cue lists as well. So this allows you to have a slightly nice fade in time, especially for your chases, just by tapping that button. Okay, so before I go on to the last feature actually for 10.1, I want to check your questions box, see if anybody's asked anything. And if not, we'll go on to the kind of last feature for the day for 10.1. So let me just have a quick look. Okay, so we haven't got any questions, which is absolutely fine. But if you have, feel free to ask. Again, video will be, I think it's on the website actually at the moment, so you can always check there as well. Okay, this one is really great. It's called a scene master. So we've now got an extra master to all of the other ones that we have. I'll show you how the scene master works. Now, this allows you, firstly, to have control of setting up playbacks before they actually get output. So you can have a master that controls when your playbacks will output, and this allows you to set states up before they actually go to live mode. For example, first of all, let's create the master. So I want to go to record, and it's under where all the others are, create master, and it's soft key F, scene master. So we're going to assign the scene master to this playback, and then I'm going to exit. So with Scene Master, you'd usually, and I'll explain it here, because we're on a Titan 1 simulator, you'd have the blue button on your touchscreen named as Enter/Exit. You'd have the grey button named as Commit. So I'll show you what the Commit button does afterwards. Here is an example. We've got this blue look here. Now, I want to set up, say, let's say you've got about 4 or 5 faders that you want to make sure are ready, and then you can fade all of those faders in at the same time. Now to do this, I need to make sure that I'm out of live mode because we're currently in live. If I press the Enter/Exit button, blue one, we're in preset mode. So anything that I now do will be highlighted in purple, which means that you're doing it in preset mode. Best way to think of it is it's a little bit like blind mode. But great thing about this compared to blind mode is this works with anything in the programmer as well as your playbacks. So what I can do is I could say, right, I'm in preset mode, let's get ready this playback. So we can see it's in purple. I've got a chase as well, haven't I, somewhere? So let's do that. Do this chase, and whilst I'm at it, I might as well keep the beams, give them some intensity, give them some sort of colour. And you can see that everything I'm doing, including palettes, has gone purple, and even my attribute bank has gone purple as well. So anything I've changed will say it's purple, you're in preset mode. It hasn't output yet. Now, there are 2 ways to do this to output. When you're ready, you can do it this way. You can fire your fader. So first of all, I'll make sure that this blue look is down. I'm now going to fire my fader. You'll notice it goes from 0%, slowly, 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 all the way to 100. And I didn't know what that was going to look like, but that could have been worse. So it's now gone from preset mode almost to putting everything in live mode. So we have my chase, we've got everything in purple running. You notice that I brought this look back down, the blue look. That's now gone purple because I brought it down and I've decided to output the rest of these playbacks. What I can do is, if you have a look at the fader, if I bring this fader back down all the way to 0, it just reverts to the fader that I had before. So there are different ways that you can control this, because not everybody is going to want to control this scene master the same way. So if you kind of have 100% there and you go back, you may not want to control it like that. To escape out of preset, just tap the blue button first of all, and you're back into live mode, everything's back to normal. So we can press clear, bring all the faders back down, release anything that shouldn't. There we go. So to change the way that your scene master behaves, if you go to playback options, select your scene master, and this is where it is. Now, there's something that's called manual commit, this is quite a nice one, and I can see quite a few people using this option. Manual commit allows you to do what we just did. It allows you to bring the fader up and put it on 100, and it goes to anything that you had that you set ready in preset. It allows you to bring it back down, which then reverts to whatever you had beforehand, which was this blue look. We've got one that's called auto commit, and we've also got one called auto commit and invert. So if I show you both of those, auto commit behaves a bit differently. So first of all, let's do the same one. Let's fire the blue look here. I'm now going to press the blue button. We're in preset mode. Get ready, this one and my chase, and have a look at what happens. I'm going to fire preset all the way to 100. You can just about see actually that we've got the chase running and so on. When I bring it back down, you'll notice it doesn't look like anything's happened, and it's because auto commit allows you to fade in whatever you had that was ready, and then what it allows you to do is bring the fader back down to 0 before doing it again. So let's come out of it and I'll show you again. So I have this blue look, I'm in preset mode, I'm going to get ready my next looks. This time I'll bring it down, fire my scene master, cool, all the way to the top. It's now gone to whatever I had in preset mode. And then what I want to do is, because it's on 100, quickly bring the fader down for scene master. It's on 0, I can then set up my next look. It could be absolutely anything, and then fire preset again. It just means you have to bring the fader down, put it back to 0, and then you have to refire it. So unlike manual commit allows you to kind of go between two different states: the state that you had that was preset and the state that you had that was live. Auto commit allows you to auto commit allows you to go from anything in preset to live, and then you have to bring it back down the fader in order to refire it for another look or another state. This next one is my favourite actually, so I'll show you the next option in playback options. This one is called auto commit and invert, so it inverts your values when you get to the top. So what will happen is we'll have this look again. I'm going to press preset, make sure I do the same ones as before, there we go. And if you have a look at the fader really closely, look at the percentage value. It goes from 0 all the way to about 99, and if I fire it completely, the values invert to 0, which now means that I don't have to drag this fader back down to then set up another look. I can go, right, I'm there, let's quickly set up the next look again, and then bring this down, and it's inverted it to 0, to 100, and it inverts it to 0 when you get straight to the top. So it will constantly invert that value, which saves you having to bring that fader for the scene master down all the time. To come out of it, you press live, bring those down. Okay, there's one more thing I want to show you with Scene Master. So I said that there were two ways you can control fading in to your looks live. There's another way that you can do it, and this method is just adding times to it. So for example, we'll do this look again. We're going to go to preset mode, and I'm going to do this one on its own. Bring it down. Now I want to fade into anything I've got in preset mode by around 3 seconds. So what we can do is similar to blind mode, is go to the number 3, so type in the number and go to your grey button which will have commit, because what you're doing is telling the console that you are committing yourself to your state. You'll notice it's now gone to, should be, my pixel mapper. That's interesting. So we'll set up another look as well. Let's try this one. Bring it down, go 3 seconds, select, commit. Oh, sorry, 3 seconds, commit. This one. There we go. And over a period of 3 seconds, it will commit to whatever you had that was in preset mode. So you can use your Scene Master if you're somebody that uses a lot of playbacks, and it allows you to set up states ready to be outputted. There are different ways to do it, and that's in your playback options as well. Okay, apart from that, that's most of the features, if not all of them, for 10.1. If you want to look at any others, there is a video on the website, which I showed you before. It's at Avolites.com, and it is under software, so /software, and then go to whichever console you want to do it for, and you'll have here Titan version 10.1. Those are the key features on there for you. Okay, if you've got any questions, feel free to ask in the questions box with regards to 10.1. If not, then thank you very much for coming. And next week, well, I say next week, actually, it's due to training and trade shows. It's the 25th of May, the next one. So this is going to cover all things shapes. We're going to look at shape engines, all 3 of them, which is pixel mapping, keyframe shapes, and shape generator. We'll have a look at recording these as palettes as well, so why they're quite useful to record as a palette. Okay, I'll be here for another couple of minutes. If you want to ask any questions, feel free to. If not, hopefully I'll see you later on. Thank you very much. Cool. If there's no questions, then I will finish the webinar for today. If you do find yourself with any questions for 10.1, have a look at the video first. And if you want to, feel free to email us at avolites.com as well. So thank you very much, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon.